Hi everyone, and welcome back to Litigation Corner. I'm your host, John Martino, the Director of Litigation at Community Legal Services, and I'm coming to you today to continue celebrating the 60th anniversary of CLS. Today we'll be exploring the communities and character of Lake County. Home to over 1,000 lakes and rivers, Lake County is a region rich with historical significance. The county was named for its abundance of lakes and is home to the charming town of Mount Dora. Mount Dora is widely known for its small town feel, boutique shops, art galleries, and inviting cafes. The town hosts a variety of annual events, including the Mount Dora Arts Festival, the Mount Dora Craft Fair, and seasonal festivals that draw visitors from throughout the country. Whether you're enjoying local fruit festivals and farmer markets, or hiking scenic trails, Lake County offers a mix of adventure, culture, and charm. Lake County is also home to the Sugarloaf Mountain, the highest natural point in Central Florida at 312 feet above sea level, offering scenic views of the surrounding lakes and forests. As of the most recent data, Lake County is home to over 34,000 veterans, representing 10.1% of the adult population. At CLS, we are dedicated to advocating for former service members and their families, helping them access benefits and protections they have earned. Veterans law covers a wide range of areas, including VA disability claims, service-connected disability appeals, discharge upgrades, healthcare, and housing benefits, as well as survivors' benefits and dependent benefits. When these concerns arise, CLS provides legal services tailored to each veteran's individual needs. Our team offers direct representation, guidance, and advocacy to ensure that veterans can overcome barriers. I recently sat down with Marissa O'Connor, the managing attorney of our Public Benefits Unit, which has built and housed our Veterans Advocacy Project. I hope you enjoy this latest edition of Direct Examination. Marissa O'Connor, manager of our Public Benefits Unit. Thank you so much for being with me here today. So the point of these interviews is to learn a little bit about the work that you do and the Public Benefits Unit does, but first we like to get a little bit of background. So first, can you just tell us a little bit about where you grew up?
Well, I grew up, I was born and raised, I should say, in Fredericksburg, Virginia. But when I was about 10, we moved to Los Angeles. So I'd say I grew up in Los Angeles, but I was raised in Fredericksburg.
When you were a little kid in Fredericksburg and then LA, what were the things that you wanted to do? Like, what were the jobs you envisioned as a kid that you wanted?
I don't really remember much before maybe 12, 13 years old.
Yeah.
I had seen my grandmother in a nursing home, and I hated seeing her in the nursing home, and that's when I knew I wanted to go into nursing home administration, actually. And
that's a very mature thing to think at 12 or 13.
I wanted something, I knew I wanted to do something for elderly and so to combat the stories that you would hear, all the horror stories and everything. It took me a little while. I think in college I realized it was nursing home administration, but around the same time I had an aunt go back to school at 50 and she went to law school, and I said, wow, well that's something I can add to this. So the total was I wanted to be an administrator, then go to law school, and then own my own nursing homes. That was the original plan.
So pretty much it's always been about trying to help people
yes.
in one way or the other.
Right.
So no dreams of joining the film industry when you were growing up in LA?
No.
So You talked about eventually you heard about someone going to law school and maybe you decided to become a lawyer. When did that happen?
I think I was in college when I decided that I wanted to go to law school. When I was 30 though, or late 20s, when I decided I was going to have to move it up in my plan. I was stuck in a job at the nursing homes and I couldn't get into the administrator program. So I went to law school at 30 years old.
And that's a brave thing to do. I know when I was in law school and there were people who hadn't just got out of college and stuff like that. That's a lot because by that point, right? You live some life, unlike us who go straight from college. You become a lawyer. And eventually, I know you did other things before, but eventually you find yourself to community legal services and our public benefits unit.
Yes.
So when we say public benefits unit, what are we actually talking about?
Government benefits. It could be state, it could be federal. So we're talking about Social Security benefits, food stamps, Medicaid, Medicare, unemployment. And then we do have a few things that aren't your traditional public benefits that we do handle though as well, sealing and expungement and driver's license reinstatement.
When we say public benefits and the work that you guys are doing, we identified what the kinds of benefits we're talking about, but what are the actual cases? Because we're not typically helping people apply for these benefits. So what are we actually focused on when it comes to the actual legal perspective?
So we come in at the appeal level for most things. We come in on the appeal level, so there has to be a denial of the benefits for some reason, or an overpayment of a benefit, or termination. So we would come in at those points and help with the appeals.
What are the challenging that people face when they are appealing a denial of a public benefits claim? Why is it hard for some kind of pro se litigant to handle that themselves?
Usually it's a lack of knowledge. They just don't know the procedures to go through. And sometimes they go to the agencies and try to fix it, and they actually make it worse because they're being told by the agencies something that's incorrect. And so now they're not helping themselves, but we know what the rules say, right? So when they come to us, we can help them better navigate the rules and understand what they are.
When we're talking about our clients, what are the typical kinds of clients that we serve?
Low income, those experiencing homelessness, or people who are at risk of homelessness.
And we also help people with developmental disabilities, correct?
Correct.
A lot of times that's working with a parent or guardian of some type, right?
Usually.
Yeah. What are the challenges that parents or guardians face when trying to get benefits for their developmentally disabled kid?
Well, I mean, it depends on the benefit because there's still different types of benefits. I mean, there's Social Security benefits to get disability, and then there's Medicaid waivers, and there's a specific one for developmentally disabled children and adults. They can be an adult, but they have to show that they had this disability before they were age 18. When kids turn 18, any child turns 18, their parents lose some rights. I mean, yes, they're still the parent, but they can't necessarily get medical records, they can't go talk to doctors, they can't help with lawsuits, but if they are an established representative with that agency, then they can do that work, but they may not be. Our pro bono unit works a lot with guardian advocacy, because someone who is developmentally disabled and has been deemed disabled prior to age 18, the parent can become a guardian advocate, which is different than a guardianship, but a guardian advocate, and they can still maintain those parental rights that they would have lost.
And not to go too far afield from what we regularly do, but yeah, guardianship is very restrictive. You're taking away someone's rights, and there are alternatives to guardianship that parents should be aware of before their kid turns 18, so that they can ensure that they have the rights to potentially bring forward these claims for their kids. How long have these appeals been taking? It
depends on the agency. Our federal agencies are probably up to about 2 to 3 years. So like a Social Security claim, if they make the initial application, the time it gets to a judge is probably about 2 years. Then you still have to wait on the judge's decision. So that's about that. There's the Medicaid waivers at the state level that you can get a hearing pretty quick, but you get a status conference, not an actual hearing, and then it actually is a couple years. Their calendars are so booked.
And we talked already about how that's challenging for the actual people that need these benefits.
Right.
I usually practice civil litigation in civil courtrooms, but I know what you guys do when it comes to public benefits is different. You guys are in administrative agencies. So what is the difference in being in a civil courtroom and administrative courtrooms where you guys practice?
There's not a huge difference. We do have judges, administrative law judges. Sometimes it's hearing officers. Hearing officers don't necessarily have to be attorneys even. Usually your administrative law judges have been attorneys already, but those are the primary people who we'd be working with in an administrative basis. They tend to be a little more casual too, the hearings. It's not like what you and I know in litigation in the civil courtroom. It's not like what it is on TV either. And so it's more, even if it's a hearing as opposed to a trial.
And the rules of evidence may be slightly different?
Depending on the agency, there are some where you can go to a fair hearing and they abide by civil rules of procedure and evidence still. And so it depends.
And I know that what you're actually arguing oftentimes is not always statutes, but administrative code that is very specific and very nuanced.
Yeah.
How do you and when you bring on new attorneys, how do you get familiar with that kind of stuff?
It's a lot of just training, and we're involved in organizations who help us to keep track of new changes, and people in our communities who are, in our areas who we're all discussing how does this rule work or how does that rule work, and we kind of figure it out together.
So let's shift gears away from more general public benefits into the work that we do with veterans. We have a Veterans Advocacy Project that's housed within the Public Benefits Unit. Can you explain when we started that project, why we started it, and what we're trying to do with it?
It started, I believe, in 2014. We had an Equal Justice Works fellow who came up with the idea and for their fellowship, and we had our manager of public benefits at the time who managed the fellow and started the project up to help our veterans in different areas of need for veterans, and we just grew from there, and we've added on to it, and we've been able to have special grants for veterans and their families.
How do we help veterans' families specifically?
So we have a grant, Supportive Services for Veterans and Families, SSVF, and it goes through the VA, and it allows us to help veterans and their families on a holistic basis. And then we're helping the veteran with any of those areas as well, but also those veteran-specific needs like the veterans benefits and discharge upgrades.
So you mentioned discharge upgrades, which I think is an area maybe the general public's probably never heard of that term before. But I do think it's one of the coolest things we do. So can you kind of just explain what a discharge upgrade is and how we participate in helping the veteran?
When a person in the military is discharged, they are given a document called a DD-214, and on there they're assigned a character of their service. So everybody, I think most common people who aren't military knowledgeable or veteran knowledgeable, they've all heard of honorable discharges or dishonorable discharges. It's really, those are your discharge characters. So there's a scale. There's some in between there, which a lot of people don't realize. General discharge or other than honorable discharge. And those can be, the other than honorable or dishonorable can be difficult for veterans in their day-to-day life. They lose benefits, they lose veterans' preference for jobs, they may have trouble with housing because they don't get the housing benefit, the home loans, the VA home loans. So it can hurt in a lot of areas. Doing a discharge upgrade, we're going to that branch of the military and showing them why the discharge was improper and why they should be brought up to an honorable, or even an other than honorable. We usually try to go to an honorable, and then the best case scenario may be a general under honorable conditions. But we're trying to help them to get that up to where they can get the help that they need.
Because dishonorable is almost like a stain on their record.
Right. And even people who get a general under honorable conditions, they come to us for discharge upgrades as well, because without an honorable, they can't get the GI Bill.
I also like to maybe dispel the notion of some of the reasons people get either other than honorable or dishonorable, because I think when the general public hears that, they must think, well, they did something wrong.
Right. Correct.
But that's not always the typical case that we're handling.
I don't know that we've actually seen a fully dishonorable, but an other than honorable or bad conduct, it may be because they did do something, but sometimes that whatever it was that they did, it was because they had mental health issues that were just coming out while they were in the service. People trying to forget and maybe getting involved in things that they shouldn't be. So that's another reason as well. We've had the whole back and forth with don't ask, don't tell, and we're looking at that.
One thing I know you've really focused on in the last couple of years is really expanding the work that we're doing for veterans.
As part of the Veterans Advocacy Project, we do really focus on that holistic approach. And so the goal in our expansion, it has been to be able to holistically help veterans throughout our service area.
And I know that you mentioned that some of this funding that we get is basically through the VA, but it's also through grantees of the VA. So what are the organizations that we work with to provide these services?
In other counties, we have, not in Lake County, we have the SSVF grants. Those go to housing agencies. There's Homeless Services Network, Changing Homelessness, Volunteers of America in Lake, Sumter, and Citrus. In those counties, we work mostly, we're not a sub-grantee of anybody, but we do work closely with the VA Homeless Services and Veterans Justice Officers in the Veterans Treatment Courts in each of those counties.
All right, so I know a big part of your job is also just reaching out to the veterans and letting them know the work that we're doing for them. So how do we focus on outreach and getting to the communities, particularly here in the rural areas, it's a little bit more difficult? In the rural areas, it is much more difficult. We do get involved in the point in time counts and getting out that way, where we're going out with other people and other agencies to be able to identify homeless veterans or those at risk of homelessness, and starting with that. Or we also are trying to get involved with just veteran organizations. So in addition to doing general outreach to make sure the veterans know what we're doing, I know you also do outreach to potential partners, other people practicing in our area. So you also go to conferences and actually talk to them and educate people on the work we're doing and the plight of veterans, the issues that people who need public benefits face. So can you talk a little bit about the education work that you do? Recently, I was invited, I should say, to the Florida Poverty Health Law Conference. It was a 2-day conference for not just attorneys and representatives, but for anyone who's helping people to get access to health care in Florida. And I was invited to be on their plenary panel, as well as I led a panel discussion on access to health care for veterans. So I was able to bring to our partners and the community a range of people, somebody from the VA, somebody who's a healthcare navigator for veterans, and another attorney. And it was just a discussion to talk about how to get the veterans healthcare. And it's important to connect with organizations that don't always do the legal work, because we can't do every single thing for the veteran. Our focus is the legal aspects of things, so it's good to have those connections. But what's unique about administrative law is sometimes you actually can have a paralegal advocate go into a hearing and advocate instead of the attorney. So can you talk a little bit about paralegal advocates and the work that they do for the unit?
So most of the agencies, federal and state, will allow a non-attorney to be a representative. They can represent just as much as an attorney can. So they are filing briefs, they are filing paperwork, they are going before the administrative law judges, they are going before the hearing officers, they're making arguments for our clients.
I know also with the paralegal advocates, I know you've done a lot of focus on actually training them to make sure that they're advocating correctly and at the best possible way for their clients. So how do you work with a paralegal and make sure that they understand how to form an argument and be in front of a hearing officer and give compelling reasons why the person seeking public benefit should get those benefits?
Well, we do a lot of case reviews on the unit, not just with paralegal advocates, but with attorneys as well. And during that time, we can really get into the cases and talk about them.
But I think that's a good spot to transition us to a next topic, which is leadership. So how would you describe your management style?
I'm very much a team approach to things. I like meeting. I mean, case reviews in itself, I think, demonstrates that. But I like to we have monthly unit meetings where we're in person and we can talk about cases that might need a little more brainstorming and other people's help with it. And we also do trainings during that time. You know, we're a team. I think we're definitely a team.
And I know, as someone who's worked with you, that you're not just a fierce advocate for the clients, but you're a fierce advocate for your team and very protective of them, which I think says a lot about your leadership. So if someone is dealing with one of the issues we discussed, whether it's a public benefits issue or there's a veteran or a veteran's family member who really needs help, how do they get in contact with us?
Usually through the helpline. They come through the helpline, if not the helpline, through one of our direct referring grants.
And they could also find information, which I know you and your team update on legalaccessforall.org. Thank you very much, Marissa.
Thank you.
Thank you to Marissa for agreeing to be interviewed and for all the amazing work you do for our clients and our veterans. Thank you for watching.